The purpose of war is real simple: to kill and to destroy. Purpose of war, doesn't matter whether you're a cook or a medic, it doesn't matter whether you're a mechanic, is to kill and destroy. I have a distinct pleasure. A member of my team from Gulf War I that cleaned up the depleted uranium mess, her parents are in the audience tonight. Mr. and Mr. Kessler, why don't you stand up, please? Their daughter, Sergeant Barbara Andres, is serving in the Gulf right now in Gulf War II. She went to Gulf War I. She was with us when we did all of this mess. It's the first time I've had a set of parents from my team in the audience. War. I went to Vietnam before I even shaved. Spent 2 years in Vietnam dropping bombs out of B-52s before I even shaved. When I came back in June of 1971 from Vietnam after my second tour, the first place I went to was a VFW hall. My dad picked me up at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago, and we went back to the VFW hall in Libertyville, Illinois, because it was real simple. My parents' best friends and my best friend's parents were having their 25th anniversary, and everybody I knew and everybody I related to was at the VFW hall for a party. So I came back from war, my last combat mission, walked right into a VFW. A little different. When you go to war, there are no winners, there's only losers. It doesn't matter if you're on the winning side or if you're on the losing side. You are physically changed forever. There's a whole bunch of us in this room, Vietnam vets sitting over there, Gulf War vets sitting all over, it's parents of vets. You're changed physiologically and psychologically forever, even if you win the friggin' battles. We won the battles in Vietnam, but we lost that sucker. We won the battles in Gulf War I and ejected Saddam out of Iraq and the Iraqis out of Kuwait and almost got him out of Iraq, but we didn't do it. But we lost. And we're back in there again. The purpose of war is to kill and destroy. And everybody loses. We got to remember that. People forget that. What happened in Gulf War I? Well, Gulf War I started because the U.S. baited and switched and got Iraq to invade Kuwait. You got to understand, Kuwait was part of Iraq until we ripped it apart in order to get control over the oil pipelines at the end of the Gulf. Reality is. We also knew at the beginning of Gulf War I that Iraq did, I want to repeat, did possess chemical and biological munitions, and that included weaponized anthrax. How do we know that? Because the United States gave it to them and we kept the receipt. Flat out happened. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about. They talked about the atrocities that happened, babies being thrown out of incubators. The Iraqi army arrayed itself along the Saudi-Iraqi border, ready to go in. They weren't there. They were farther back in. So on Thanksgiving Day of 1990, and we got over there, and our tasking very specifically was several things. Number one, I was with the 12th Preventive Medicine Detachment. We were the Theater Public Health and Occupational Health Department. But I was also assigned to a team called Bowers Raiders. We were the Theater Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Warfare Special Operations and Teaching Team. We were it. The team had been put together from a whole group of us that had worked together for many years, primarily from universities. Because we taught emergency medicine, we were all paramedics. We did emergency rescue, we taught hazardous materials, and we were scientists and engineers and doctors, and pharmacologists and toxicologists. And we had a problem. Now in December of 1990, the first problem started to show up. And what happened is because we knew that Iraq possessed chemical and biological munitions, we knew they were weaponized, we knew where they were, we made a conscious decision at the command headquarters to blow them up in place. This is the first thing that started getting us. Now their daughter's sitting up at KKMC all the way up in the front end, and this stuff is flying in on them. But we blew them up in place. Now this is Schwarzkopf's autobiography on page 390. He actually wrote it up about our decision. And we told him at that time, when you blow this stuff up, it's going to come back on you, because you can't hit an ice cube with a hammer, which is what we did when we put explosives next to chemical and biological munitions, and destroy them. They just get spread all over, and everybody got sick. Really nice. Now, when you move a military or destroy an infrastructure, you've got hazardous materials all over the place. You know, we got organics and inorganic compounds, we got heavy metals, we got radiological materials, just like it's scattered all over the city. And when you blow up that stuff, it just gets released on everybody. When you move the army and you release this stuff, it goes all over the place, and you get a toxic wasteland. This stuff is turning out really good here. Then we had all of these crazy immunizations. Now, when we got activated, the majority of the reservists and National Guard, along with the active duty, the doctors had not maintained our immunizations. Remember, you're supposed to get a shot every so many years and keep up with that? They'd forgot about that. So what we did is we stripped everybody down, the guys down to their shorts and the girls to their shorts and their bras, marched them through a line, gave them 2, 4, 6, 8 shots and a gamma globulin GG up in the upper butt. And they got sick. Things are not good because the military had not maintained the medical care and status of the troops. And they still are not doing it today. They are not doing it today. When you go to war, it's a toxic wasteland. Now, what happened on top of this whole toxic wasteland is the United States decided to use uranium munitions. Now, you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a warrior. If I got to go to war tomorrow morning to defend this nation, I will go back to war and I will kill in a heartbeat. Just like that gentleman will and like that gentleman will back there. Right, sir? No two ways about it. But when we use uranium munitions, we cross the line. There's a big difference. A big, big difference. And unfortunately, the majority of casualties in Gulf War I were due to friendly fire. That means we shot our own. We killed our own. And they were due to the use of uranium munitions. Flat out, that's what happened. So all of a sudden, right after the ground war happens, you know, we're into that last week of February, first week of March of 1991, all of a sudden I get called over to the command headquarters. This is down at Eskan village, south of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And my commander and I got over there, and the general says, "Hey, Doug, you got to go clean up the DU mess." And I go, "Uh-oh, the order's here. Headquarters, U.S. Army Forces, Central Command, ordered me to do it. Signed for the commander, the Chief of Staff, David Mallory." So we went up there to clean it up. And when I got up there, I got to KKMC. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand, their daughter, Barbara, was already up there. They're cleaning up this uranium-contaminated equipment. They're picking up the DU casualties with basically nothing but boots, shirts, and shorts. Is that correct, ma'am? Yes. No warnings, no nothing. No training, nothing at all. Now, myself and my team got up there, and they've heard this story, and it's been published all over. All of a sudden, hey, these 3 guys came in gas masks and chemical suits and all boosted. That was us. You've heard this story from day one. They had not told their daughter and anybody else of the hazards. They hadn't told anybody else of the hazards in the whole friggin' army. KKMC is King Khalid Military City. It's in northern Saudi Arabia, about 30 miles from a place called Hafar al-Batan. It's about 50 miles out of Iraq, right near the triangle in the dead center up northern Saudi Arabia. That's where we marshaled 7th Corps and 18th Corps together when they end up doing. The 7th Corps made what we called the Hail Mary play, up and around. Well, you know, the reason the Hail Mary play worked is because of DU munitions, but the other thing was, the Iraq military wasn't arrayed along the border. Now, if they had been there, as they said when they justified the war, they never would have been able to do that, because they would have hit them right away. The purpose of war is real simple: to kill and to destroy.